Okay, hello everyone. Today we are live with Middle East jobs from WazNet, and today we are going to discuss quite a few jobs that are very interesting, and of course, you would find these very practical, and these are fresh jobs that have actually been announced very recently. Now, what are these jobs? And our discussion will actually it will be around how to secure these jobs and what kind of jobs are coming in, flowing in the Middle East. Okay, and that, of course, if we talk about the Middle East right now, it's a very hot market. And hot market, by hot market, we mean that procuring a job, getting a job in the Middle East right now is pretty easy. It's pretty easy. The only thing that you need right now is to have that mindset, to have that skill set. And by skill set, I mean what exactly is the current requirement of skill sets? How would you know? How would you research the skill sets that are right now pretty much in demand in the Middle East market? Nevertheless, the Saudi Arabia market, the Qatar market, UAE market, Kuwait market, all of these markets actually are facing a shortage of very specialized skills. And by specialized skills, I mean the skills that not many people have over there, because the population over there is mostly, majority of those are into either manual labor or admin jobs or tasks that are menial. That's why many jobs that actually surface and are circulating on the social media through various forums have a little lesser pull in terms of pay scale, because the pay scales for ordinary jobs is quite low. You're talking about like 2,000 to 3,000 dirhams if you talk about the UAE market. Now that is a very baseline pay scale for that market. And if you really want to upgrade ourselves, then of course we'll discuss the skills that are needed over there and that are quite in demand. Not to mention the use of AI, big data. Now these are something that the industry is adapting to right now, and they are actually moving towards that phase, towards that segment where AI, big data, machine learning will actually make you stand out if you really know and have a good grip on these skills and in these areas. And how would you, as a fresher, now that is a big question for people coming out of universities and heading to the job market. The job market, of course, it should be very much welcoming for the freshers, but it's not. That's not how it's been. It's been quite very different and opposing for the freshers, because freshers come out blank. I may be wrong, but they are blank when it comes to portraying and exhibiting their skills. Companies basically, what they actually require and what they're actually looking at is a set of skills that they could use and utilize in their companies so that they can make a profit out of your skills. Now, what are those skills? Let's move on to discussing the jobs first. The first jobs that we are looking at right now, it should be on your screen. A document controller. where the key requirements are 3 years of relevant experience. Now, when it comes to discussing and displaying your skill set, your strong areas, like 3 years of relevant experience, what if you don't have that kind of experience right now? It doesn't matter. In today's time, even degrees and certifications do matter, but achieving those or getting certified or getting qualified is or getting qualified is quite easy now. With the use of AI, you can of course master knowledge areas using AI, using ChatGPT. Now, even using ChatGPT is regarded as a skill nowadays. So, speaking of document controller, what does a document controller do? You should know that. If you're going for this slot, you should know what are the responsibilities, what are the skills that are required for a document controller, what software will be required to execute and implement this role as a champion. Now, as a champion, I mean that someone who actually stands out and looks unbeatable in their craft, and that not hiring such a champion, such a stalwart for this very role would actually seem a loss for the company. Make yourself inevitable. Now, let me give you a framework over here. Now, by framework, what I mean here, that for example, if you want to go for this slot, document controller, what you'll do is first ask ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, Copilot, any AI agent you can get hold of, and research through AI what does a document controller do and what would a best, stellar, cosmic, unbeatable document controller would do, and what kind of skills would that document controller have, so that your slot and your role is unbeatable. Nobody can replace you. Those are the skills that you would research. Once you have that set of skills, work on that. It only takes like 1 week to 10 days to 15 days, and that's the time you would spend to get the visa done, to get your passport in place, in order. Okay, use that time to acquire skills. More and more skills, the more the better. That is the best thing that you would do for yourself, to yourself, when you are actually heading for the Middle East market. Now, the Middle East market is challenging because they have a high demand for skills that are unique. So you have to make yourself unique. So they're asking for 3 years of relevant experience, strong knowledge of document control systems. As I said, the software and administrative coordination. What is this? This is basically PR. We'll talk about this later, but right now we'll just go over the jobs. Excellent organizational communication, multitasking skills. As I said, a high demand market like Middle East, of course, would want a person to have multiple skills and the ability to execute those tasks simultaneously. That is multitasking. Proficiency, okay, yes. Candidates available to join immediately. Now, how would you execute this? I would cover that in the later live jam sessions, job jam sessions. Make sure that you subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss these very, very important and very vital updates that we will share out of our experience, and what actually would get you aligned from the Middle East. We will get you the insider insights from this market, because we've been in this market for quite a long time. Okay, so the next one is Emirates National Hospital. Now, word of caution when you are applying for a hospitality industry. Now, the UAE market mandates, it makes it obligatory to have certifications from their Department of Health, from the Health Ministry. There are some tests that you will have to undergo before you could consider yourself eligible for these jobs, for these slots. And now this one is specifically for Emirati nationals, the registered nurses, the radiographers, the physiotherapists. All they need are Emirati because they are pretty much inclined towards nationalization or Emiratization of their industries, which is a good thing. Of course, every country wants to retain their talent and utilize their local talent so that their foreign investment is actually retained, and that the flight of foreign currency is slowed down. That is one of the reasons, and of course they have to bring down the unemployment as well. Okay, so this is for Emirati. If Emirati people are actually watching this, they can actually they can actually apply on this job. Next one that we have here is Oracle HCM specialist, and this one is a very highly rated job. Now you would ask me how to get skilled in Oracle, giving yourself like a timeline of 1 month or 1.5 months or maybe 2 weeks if you're really in a rush and you want a job in an emergency. And of course that for that you would need to brace yourself and prepare yourself and make yourself ready for this slot on war footings, okay, on urgent footing, on urgent basis. Okay, now for this, of course, Oracle HCM specialist that they require over here will have to work, as you can see on your screen. It might be a little bit tiny when it comes to the fonts over here that we see, but they want to cover Oracle Fusion, and they want to have someone who knows configuration in HR, the customization, and that the HCM consultant would also know how to design documents, user manuals, test plans. Now this is very easy. You will have to get a hang of Oracle Fusion HR, get to know, understand it, research it for the next 8 days to 10 days and 14 days. So break down your segments of learning into 3 to 4 parts, starting from the basics to the most advanced level. Break it down into digestible parts so that you can work in this area and set up your own use cases out of Oracle HCM and build those use cases in these 2 weeks or 3 weeks, 21 days, and put it out there on LinkedIn and publish it and talk about it and connect with the network, connect with professionals from this industry, and do research. This company, intermassgroup.com, that is publishing this job, and they require an Oracle HCM specialist, and connect with the people from the inside in this company. Okay, next is the sales executive. Okay, the sales executive is required at Princess Tourism. Let me just reduce the resolution of this. Okay, it should be, yeah. Now I want to spread it so that it's visible. Okay, because this is the first time or maybe the second time that I'm going live on Job Jam, and it shouldn't actually go out of the screen because it should be visible, right? Yeah, now it looks a little bit better. Out of hide. Oh, okay. Show tabs. Okay, so we're we are speaking of this role, the sales executive from this company called Princess Tourism. Yeah, now it is quite visible. Apologies for actually making it look a little bit out of dimensions perspective. Okay, sales executive, of course, you need to have quite a lot of PR, a database of the market or the C-level people from the companies. You should at least, now what you have to do for this one is research what kind of company is this Princess company, which is a services company. And of course, for that you would need similar customer base for this company. You would have to research companies that will be relevant for this company to work with, and based on that you would extract contacts from the market, from the Middle East or UAE, Dubai or Sharjah market, and you will collect and build a database for yourself. You should have at least 500 contacts to start with, where you would have details about the C-level management, their emails, their contacts, and even if you can connect in these 2 to 3 weeks and build a rapport with them before you apply. You should apply right now, but within like 21 days you should be able to exhibit that yes, you have done your homework. Okay, and that homework will actually help you to get selected and get shortlisted for the interviews. Okay, you would have to generate sales leads and research the products and services of this company and pitch it warmly to warm connections in your LinkedIn. Okay, you don't have to sound desperate or brash, or that you are just going everywhere. Okay, you shouldn't be all over the place when you speak of selling products to C-level people. You have to make it sound relevant, and there should be a need for that. You should know how to create a need for that. So this is the job that we have here right now on your screen. The next one is quite very interesting. Okay, now this one is basically they are hiring a web developer and a marketing specialist again. Now this is a hospitality company which is called Care Zone Home Healthcare, and they want a web developer, and they don't want a very complex or highly experienced web developer, as I can understand from this. They need a web developer who could integrate an online booking system and a payment gateway setup. Now this is something you can research through ChatGPT and ask how to build an online booking system. This should be in PHP, perhaps, maybe in Python, who knows, or maybe ASP.NET. So research all of these, build a proposal, build a use case, publish it on LinkedIn, and then apply on this email, marketing@carezonehomecare.com, or you can also WhatsApp your profile and the use cases. And you should actually also know, you must know who is basically running this department and looking for this candidate who knows web development and the marketing specialization, marketing specialist. So now this is quite simple and this is easy to get. I've already given the tips and the insight. The next one is real estate recruiter. Again, you should have loads of contacts. When it comes to hiring people for the real estate, they should have a real estate background, a very stellar, a winning profile of clinching deals and closing deals for real estate. If you have high ticket closers in sales from the real estate background, that profile should be with you for the candidates, because you are a recruiter, you would be recruiting winners, rock stars, and not that very mundane or desperate or people with less to low experience in the real estate industry. So they're looking for a recruiter with a real estate background, and they should have some kind of exposure. Now you have to talk to ChatGPT and ask it how to build that experience in real estate. Try to research the real estate industry of Dubai, of the Middle East, and again build a use case. Now how to build a use case, of course we will cover this in the later live job jams. Okay, don't miss those, because we will be sharing some very precious gems to get into the Middle East market with low exposure, low experience. That is something you should be looking forward to. So subscribe to our channel. So now this will also require you to have a database and the real estate exposure, know what is going on in the real estate, know what is happening in the real estate industry, get in touch with the news, the updates coming in from that industry, read the newspapers, and absorb and digest everything that's coming from the real estate industry. And based on that, connect with people for the next 21 days. Just keep connecting, like maybe 10 to 15 people per day from LinkedIn, perhaps from the mediocre level to the most expert level. Okay, and maybe you could also ask them for their profiles if they're looking to switch. That of course will give you a head start, a very positive head start in your industry, okay, when you apply for this job. Now for this job, of course, you need to have a sound grip on the industry, on the candidates. Have at least like 200 profiles of candidates. So if you are collecting like 10 people and connecting with 10 people every day, you have like 200 people by the end of 20 days. Okay, 10 candidates per day and 200 in 20 days. That's not difficult. So I'm giving you a task for like 21 days. In 21 days you should be able to apply for this job. Okay, now so the email is given over there, the WhatsApp number is given over there. You should also research the company over here as well. The company is, as you can see, my mouse is hovering on that place. This is the email that you should be applying at. Okay, next is holiday sales consultants for this travel agency. Now you should have a travel background to go for this. Again, I've told you what kind of sales background you should have. You should be looking forward to dealing with tourists, with companies, corporate companies, people who are working alongside with the C-level class, who frequently opt for travel. Not the retail travelers, but the corporate travelers who love to travel all around the world. So if you get hold of like 3 to 5 companies and get them to sign up for a contract, for a 3 months contract where you could cover them end to end, door to door travel plans, and you could actually step in to cover their travel plans, their bookings, the schedules, the hotel stays. That's what a holiday sales consultant could do. And do research Akbar Travels. This seems to be an old stalwart, an old legacy company which is operating in the UAE, and they should have a nice profile. So talk to them, talk to new prospects using Akbar Travels as a token, and tell them that yes, you can actually help them to get and clinch deals which are affordable and exciting, because you have to sound quite energetic and exciting to such clients so that they can shake hands with you, and that's what you become, a middleman between Akbar Travels and yourself. Next is IMEX Cargo is looking for a sea freight coordinator. Now sea freight of course knows documentation, the rates, the freight charges, the scheduling of cargo, the containers, the shipping lines. Now this is a complex area, complex industry. It has quite a lot of connecting dots. So these dots have to be known quite well before you really apply for this one. I'm giving you tips because this will help you to stand out and get ahead of the game and get ahead of the competition, because once you get down in competing with these people who would be getting interviewed, you should know what would actually set you apart and make you look supreme, a supremo in the eyes of the interviewer, so that when they interview you, everyone else goes into obscurity, into grayscale. By grayscale I mean that when you step out of that interview room after getting that interview done, they would have already formed an opinion about you that you are the perfect slot, even if there was someone who proved himself or herself to be a champion. By the time you have intervened and disrupted the whole game, that is the main point, that you disrupt it and you change their taste and their preferences. That's how you win interviews. Next one is head of operations, and their pays are pretty much nice. If you look at the screen, they are offering 25,000 to 30,000 dirhams for head of operations, and this must be a big group. Now I'm not going into much details because head of operations for restaurants, of course, they would know the inventory, customer service, getting corporate clients, and managing and balancing the speed of operations, the execution, the taste, the delivery, the presentation. That is head of operations. Head of operations will have a finger on the pulse of running a restaurant. So you should have some kind of exposure in running a joint, or maybe a burger joint or pizza joint. I'm just saying because, again, not any experience which is a bit relevant will be underrated for this one, for this slot. Okay, so head of operations, you will have to think about this slot from a bigger picture perspective, because head of operations for a Swiss company that is running restaurants, perhaps you might be controlling and running and managing multiple restaurants, multiple chefs, multiple waiters, multiple event management people, customers. I mean, this is a fast moving industry, high pace industry, and keeping up with the pace will be the key. Know the pain points of this industry and then apply for this one. How would you control the inventory, the taste, the food, the supplies, the team? How would you keep them motivated? How would you keep the chef on the toes, and also at the same time not also stressed or distressed? You should know the pulse of the chefs, their attitudes, their aptitudes. You should know that. I mean, that having a good understanding of that is pretty much important. So that's how you can ace this slot, because this is 25 to 30,000 slot, an expensive slot. So they would actually want to see something very much specialized in you, in your persona, in your demeanor, that will actually make you look quite different, unique from the rest of the crowd, from the rest of the herd. Okay. Now the next one is, the last one is PMV manager. This is machinery hiring and project coordination. We're looking for experienced PMV manager to manage machinery hiring, vendor coordination, and monitor equipment requirements across multiple construction projects in the UAE. Monitor and coordinate machine requirement for each project, plan and arrange hiring, rental of construction equipment. So this is, again, you have to research what kind of machinery is in the market, what is in and what is out, what are the spare parts that would be required, what is the maintenance framework, and what kind of machinery is basically very much durable in countries, in regions like the UAE and the Saudi Arabia, where the weathers are extreme and what machinery would stand that weather, and what kind of construction is being done, and what kind of machinery will be suitable, what kind of suitable spare parts will be needed, and how often, at what price, what vendors are doing it. Get connected with those vendors, get connected with machinery people, with machinery guys, and coordinate with them the availability, maybe on rent, maybe on lease, maybe on ownership. Again, the case may differ for every project to project, because for every project, of course, you'll have to budget what kind of machinery will be required for how many days. Make a use case, publish it again on the LinkedIn, that this is how you would execute this job, this slot, and how would that benefit. In terms, speaking of benefit for the company, speak how much a company will earn, save, and generate in terms of cash flow, in terms of revenue. Using this, you can give comparatives. For example, if you look at machinery auctions, there would be Caterpillar, then we have John Deere, then we have Cato. Make a comparative and see how it fares, because for every construction there is a machinery for that. But when it comes to durability, quality, execution, overheads, maintenance, every machine, every brand would differ from the other. Some would over deliver, some would not. Some would be cash intensive or capital intensive when it comes to maintenance, and the revenue generation would increase or decrease or stay the same with the overheads. If your overheads are increasing due to maintenance, but if it is generating revenue for that very project or any task, then of course you can go for the expensive option. But if the overheads are not integrating into higher income or revenues or cash flow, if it is restricting cash flows, then that machinery will be of no use, will be of less use, would be meaningless for the profitability of the company. That's how you have to think about when you enter an interview. You should know what benefit you could bring with your knowledge and skills to the company, and that's what they want to see in your interview. Okay, so now I leave you with these jobs. Think about it. I'll be uploading this document, okay, and I'll share the link in the description of this video. We'll be back again. Don't forget to subscribe with our channel. We'll be back with more job jams. Stay tuned. Have a nice day. Bye bye.